Second graders, it's good to talk to you. We are working today on math boxes that are on page 239, and it is for lesson 10.3. And remember that it is your job to work ahead as much as you can and do these independently. These should be review. So make sure that you are pausing the video to do your own work before I do. And then you can check your work to see if you got it right. So the first problem on the math boxes says, how many pennies make $3? Well, I know that 100 pennies make $1. So it would be 200 pennies to make $2, and another 100 pennies to equal $3. So how many pennies would it take to make $3? It would be 300 pennies. 300 pennies makes $3. Now the next problem asks, or the next part of that problem asks, how many nickels are in $3? First of all, how many nickels would it take to make $1? Let's count that out. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. Now that's 50 cents. So if I just count it again, that would give me $1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Another 10 nickels would bring me up to $1. So 10 and 10 means 20 nickels. $1 is equal to 20 nickels. Okay, so if $1 is 20 nickels, how many nickels would it take to make $2? And how many nickels would it take to make $3? So 20 for $1, another 20 now for $2 would be 40 nickels. And to get up to $3, we'd need to add another 20 nickels, and that would bring me up to 60 nickels in $3. So 60 nickels is equal to $3. How many dimes equal $3? Well, I know that 10 dimes makes $1. If 10 dimes equals $1, we'd need another 10 dimes to be $2. So that would bring us up to 20 dimes would be $2. And how many dimes would it take then to be $3? And that's right. If you wrote in 30, you were correct. Now for the quarters, remember you're counting by 25s. And I know that 4 quarters makes $1. So it would take 4 quarters equals $1. Another 4 quarters, if I add 4 on, that would bring me up to 8 quarters, would equal $2. Add 4 more quarters, that would be 12 quarters, would equal $3. Moving on to the pennies problem, number 2, it says to count out 20 pennies, and I didn't have a bucket with just pennies, but I did have a bucket of marbles, so I used marbles today for my counters. Count out 20, make sure you did count 20. If you're using counters, you probably know this, but if you use a tray with an edge, or I used like a low cake pan here, and I put a towel down so my items don't roll away, that helps. But remember, we're trying to find fractional parts here. So if I have 20 pennies and I want to know half, I want 2 equal groups. The denominator tells me how many groups. And then I want to know how many are in one of the 2 groups. So what is half of 20? You might know that just in your head. Go ahead and write it down. If I take my 20 counters and I divide them into 2 groups, I have 10 in each group. Okay, so now for the next one, we need 4 equal groups. And I want to know what is one of the 4 equal groups. What would be in one of the 4 groups? 1/4. So I'm going to make my groups into my marbles into 4 equal groups and find out how many are in one of the 4 groups. Go ahead and do that. Use whatever you chose as counters. It's not 4 in a group, it's 4 equal groups. So I'm putting a group in each corner of my pan to keep them separate. And mine looks like this. So in one of the 4 groups, 1/4, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 marbles, or in this case, it's pennies. So 1/4 of 20 is 5. Now we need 1/5, so that means my denominator is 5, means I need 5 equal groups. And I want to know how many are in one of those 5 groups. So I'm going to make this into 5 equal groups. You do the same. And coming back to it, I have 20 marbles in 5 equal groups. One of the 5 groups has how many marbles in it? 4. 1/5 of 20, 1/5, one of the 5 groups has 4 marbles. So 4 pennies. Number 3 is a frames and arrows problem, and you just need to remember to follow the directions of the arrow. So if you have a solid arrow, you're going to add 1,000. The dog is helping with her squeaky toy, I hear. And if I have a dotted arrow, that means I'm going to take off 100. So if I start with 2,463 and I add 1,000, I'm going to change that thousands place. Write your number in. Then I'm going to subtract 100. Subtract 100 from this number and write it in. Fill out your frames and arrows. When you get down to this one, they gave it to you, so you can double check that your answer was right. They say that that needs to be 4,363. And then they want you to find the next 2. Okay? Pause it, finish it, and come on back. Second graders, when I add 1,000 to 2,463, changing that thousands place, I have 3,463. When I take off, minus, subtract 100, I'm going to change that hundreds place, and I have 3,363. Adding 1,000, I'm going to bring that thousands place up to 4,663. I can check my work. Yep, looks like those 2 were right. Now I need to subtract 100, so I'm going to change the 3 that's in the hundreds place. I'm going to subtract 1 from that, 4,263. And now it says to add 1,000, so I'm going to change that thousands place by adding 1 more 1,000, and I have 5,263. Moving on to number 4. If you know 9 minus 5, you can do the rest of these very easily. 9 minus 5 equals, that's right, 4. Now if you had 90 minus 50, that would be 9 tens minus 5 tens. What does that equal? You'd have 4 tens left, and 4 tens is the same as, write it down. That's right, 40. Now you do the next 2. You have 9 hundreds minus 500. What does that equal? Okay, coming back to your video, hopefully you finished those up. You've got 4 hundreds left. And if you have 9,000 minus 5,000, taking away 5 of the thousands would leave you with 4,000. 4,000. Moving on to number 5. If you have rulers or yardsticks, this would be a great time to get those out and just kind of play around with them. Look at the lengths that they give you: 5 feet, 24 inches, and 9 feet. Then you need to match it up with the other side, which is 3 yards, 60 inches, and 2 feet. So try to match those up. 5 feet is the same as 24 inches is the same as, and 9 feet is the same as. Well, there's a few things that it can't be. So let's look at what we have here. We can eliminate a few of these answers. Can 9 feet match up with 2 feet? It definitely can't. Definitely can't. Could 24 inches match up with 60 inches? No way. So let's think about what we've got here. If we have 2 feet, I got kind of excited about this one. 2 feet, I know that there's 12 inches in 1 foot. So 2 feet, when I double 12, I get 24. So that one seemed like a pretty easy answer for me. Now I remember that yards and feet, I have 3 feet that make 1 yard. 3 feet equal 1 yard. So 3 and 3 and 3. 3 plus 3 is 6 plus 3 more is 9. 9 feet would be 3 yards. And I'm left with 5 feet being 60 inches. And I want to think, is that reasonable? 5 feet. Well, 1 foot is 12 inches. If I had 10 5 times, that would be 50. I've got a little more than that, so 60 a little more than 50 inches. Yeah. So then you could double check. Is 12 plus 12 plus 12 plus 12 plus 12 60? Now you could put that in a calculator if you wanted to, but 12 5 times, because 5 feet. 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 feet, 4 feet, 5 feet. Does that equal 60? And yes, it does. Draw an 8 by 4 array. How many in all? Now remember to take your time when you're drawing the arrays, because they do need to match up and be organized. You could get your marbles back out on your towel, or maybe you're using pennies or pieces of pasta, whatever you're using. You could make one too if you wanted. But remember, if I have 8 by 4, it's 8 rows with 4 in each row. So I'm going to do a row of 1, 2, 3, 4, a second row of 4, and all the way up to 8 rows. Do yours, and you can come back and compare it to mine. All right, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rows, 4 in each row. So I'm going to count by 4s. 4, 8. Adding 4 more would be 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32. How many in all? 32 in all. Thanks for joining me for math today.